Hey everybody, this is a clip from the latest episode of the Randi Rhodes Show. If you want the full episode, you can watch live on Free Speech TV, Dish Channel 9415, DirectTV 348, Sling, Roku, and AppleTV.
Your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your
Progress, we all have to agree where we currently are. We all have to agree that this is the situation we find ourselves in, that these are the facts in play. And unless and until we do, we will never have a prayer of fixing it. And the problem that we have is the money. It's the dark money. And so we spent the first part of this show showing you what the dark money wants from courts, specifically from courts and from Congress. Okay. And now that you understand that they want to do away with jury trials, they want to do away with any regulations that would protect you from them. They want to do away with your voting rights, and they want to gerrymander so that you are diluted in your hopes and dreams and aspirations to keep dark money out of politics. And in order to do that, they need to do those three things plus keep the gravy train rolling. Ensure that we get more decisions like Citizens United, like the McCutcheon decision, that says that corporations are people and that the way that those people speak is through large contributions. And still, if there were no shame around it, why then don't they just give the money? Why don't they just put their names on it? Why don't they? Because it's bad PR, that's why. It's really, really bad for a brand to be seen buying Supreme Court decisions, buying Congress, buying a Republican Party, buying appellate court seats. It's really bad PR. And so they crafted this giant labyrinth of scrubbers, basically scrubbers. The Bradley Group, the Federalist Society, okay? The Judicial Crisis Network, right? There's all of these scrubbers that get this money and scrub the names of the donors off of the money and then funnel the money. There will be books written about this. So pay attention.
What is the scheme here? Let me start with this one. In all cases, there's big anonymous money behind various lanes of activity. One lane of activity is through the conduit of the Federalist Society. It's was managed by a guy named Leonard Leo, and it's taken over the selection of judicial nominees. How do we know that to be the case? Because Trump has said so over and over again. His White House counsel said so. So we have an anonymously funded group controlling judicial selection run by this guy, Leonard Leo. Then in another lane, we have, again, anonymous funders running through something called the Judicial Crisis Network, which is run by Carrie Severino, and it's doing PR and campaign ads for Republican judicial nominees. It got single $17 million donation in the Garland-Gorsuch contest.
Holy crap.
It got another single $17 million donation to support Kavanaugh. Somebody, perhaps the same person, spent $35 million to influence the makeup of the United States Supreme Court. Tell me that's good.
Oh.
And then over here, you have a whole array of legal groups, also funded by dark money, which have a different role. They bring cases to the court. They don't wind their way to the court, Your Honor. They get shoved to the court by these legal groups, many of which ask to lose below so they can get quickly to the court to get their business done there.
Oh, my God.
And then they turn up in a chorus, an orchestrated chorus of amici. Now, I've had a chance to have a look at this, and I was in a case, actually, as an amicus myself, the Consumer Financial Protection Board case. And in that case, there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 amicus briefs filed, and every single one of them was a group funded by something called Donors Trust. Donors Trust is a gigantic identity scrubbing device for the right wing so that it says Donors Trust is the donor without whoever the real donor is. It doesn't have a business. It doesn't have a business plan. It doesn't do anything. It's just an identity scrubber. And this group here, the Bradley Foundation, funded 8 out of the 11 briefs. That seems weird to me when you have amicus briefs coming in little flotillas that are funded by the same groups but nominally separate in the court. So I actually attached this to my brief as an appendix. Center for Media and Democracy saw it, and they did better work. They went on to say which foundations funded the brief writers in that CFPB case. Here's the Bradley Foundation for $5.6 million to those groups. Here's Donors Trust, $23 million to those brief writing groups.
Oh my God.
The grand total across all the donor groups was $68 million.
Wow.
To the groups that were filing amicus briefs, pretending that they were different groups. And it's not just in the Consumer Financial Protection Board case. You might say, well, that was just a one-off. Here's Janus, the anti-labor case that had a long trail through the court, through Friedrichs and through Knox and through other decisions. And SourceWatch and ProPublica did some work about this. Here's Donors Trust and Donors Capital Fund, and here's the Bradley Foundation, and they totaled giving $45 million to the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 groups that filed amicus briefs pretending to be different groups, and both of the lawyer groups in the case. Funded by Donors Trust, funded by Bradley Foundation in Janus. This is happening over and over and over again, and it goes beyond just the briefs. It goes beyond just the amicus presentations. The Federalist Society, remember this group that is acting as the conduit and that Donald Trump has said is doing his judicial selection? They're getting money from the same foundations. From Donors Trust, $16.7 million. From the Bradley Foundation, $1.37 million. From the same group of foundations total, $33 million. So you can start to look at these and you can start to tie them together. The legal groups, all the same funders over and over again, bringing the cases and providing this orchestrated chorus of amici. Then the same group also funds the Federalist Society over here. The Washington Post wrote a big expose about this, and that made Leonard Leo a little hot, a little bit like a burned agent.
Yeah.
So he had to jump out, and he went off to go and do anonymously funded voter suppression work.
Huh.
Guess who jumped in to take over the selection process in this case for Judge Barrett? Carrie Severino made the hop. So once again, ties right in together.
So just to put this in plain English, the Janus case was a case about unions and whether or not you could form a union. The people who influence the courts decided that keeping us from organizing as labor was worth $68 million in spending to get the court to side with them against unions in warehouses, corporations. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which Sheldon Whitehouse said he wrote an amicus brief for, right? An amicus brief, a friend of the court brief, saying why we need a Consumer Financial Protection Bureau to protect Americans from liar loans, from, the banks, the big banks who were literally appraising your house for 10 times what it was worth so that they could lend you that much money, knowing your house was never going to be worth that much money, but you would be in debt to them and they could take your house. That was the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau case. That was worth spending $33 or $35 million on. And then Don McGahn, who is the White House counsel that Sheldon Whitehouse is referring to here, Don McGahn told the American people that Donald Trump was going to pick justices, that Leonard Leo, who was the head of the Federalist Group, was going to select for Donald Trump. Don McGahn who literally stayed in the White House knowing this president was bat crap crazy, did it so that he could pick all the judges. That was Don McGahn's job as White House counsel, and he did do it. The expose that was in the Washington Post, it's in today's homework if you want to see it. Just visit randyrhodes.com and click on homework. It's about 20 pages without the photos. With the photos, it's 37 pages. It was a mind-bending expose on how they had set their sights on remaking the courts so that the courts would do away with civil juries, they would do away with regulation and voting rights.